A man addressing an unseen crowd. Big strong boys for farm work, he says. 400. 700. 700. 800. The numbers roll in. These men are sold for 1,200 Libyan pounds, $400 apiece. You are watching an auction of human beings.
The pictures you are about to see are disturbing. 69 people, 65 men and 4 women held in cages under inhumane conditions at a rehabilitation center in Aruka, operated by a church. The compound, however, looking more like a prison.
Hi, my name is Sharissa Mali.
Hi, my name is Melina Mohammed.
Hi, my name is Teague Davis, and behind the camera is our colleague Dana Blair.
We are students of the Human Rights Legal Aid Clinic at the Hugh Law School.
And today we are doing a documentary on human trafficking.
Human trafficking is a serious issue across the globe. Many persons do not consider it as something that could possibly happen to them. This could be you.
So in this documentary, we attempt to build awareness by questioning the average person on the street, and then we fully flesh out that information by sitting down with an expert. So you said you know a little bit about social media and human trafficking. So what is that?
Okay, so for example, Snapchat, it have the feature that you can see wherever your friend's located. So somebody could use like that to find someone and kidnap them. Also, if you're like going out somewhere with your friends or something and you post a story on IG, you could show the location which part you are currently, and that could also be used. So, yeah.
That never happened to anybody in your circle or anything like that, or anybody that you knew?
No, it never happened.
So have you ever tagged the location in any of your posts? Like if you post food?
Yeah, I have done that. Yeah.
Do you still do it?
Yeah, sometimes.
Why? But if you know the consequences.
Well, I doesn't post for everybody to see, just close friends. So I guess that's why I still do it.
So you trust your close friends? You trust everybody, every single person?
Well, I have some sort of trust for them that they wouldn't kidnap me or anything or something.
Do you know how social media affects human trafficking?
Not really, no.
Are you familiar with human trafficking?
Yes, I am.
So what do you know about it?
I know that it either take teenagers, is mainly be in the teenagers bracket, and they either use them for sexual assault or selling for organs and etc.
Do you know the consequences of sharing your location?
Yeah, they could find your location and etc. And this.
Do you know how social media affects human trafficking?
I think it's a good medium to use to alert people about the perils of human trafficking, but I'm not sure how it works to, prevent it from happening. So.
Okay. Do you know the difference between human trafficking and migrant smuggling?
Well, I know the human trafficking is where somebody kidnap you and
Like sell you, basically.
for sex and
Not different thing here.
I don't know the one.
And then what's the next one?
Migrant smuggling.
Migrants.
No. I'm not sure.
Not too sure about that.
Do you know the difference between human trafficking and migrant smuggling? Human trafficking and migrant smuggling. Do you know
Right,
the
so when I get terms like that, I'll be like, what it means by human trafficking? Because they are more into the terms than me.
Smuggling is usually when people live in a lower income or in poverty in certain countries, and they use different means that aren't legal per se to escape that place. So a lot of the Venezuelans who aren't human trafficked leave by choice, whereas
And
human
try to-
trafficking is you don't have a choice,
get
and no matter
kidnapped and
they take you.
Oh.
Have you ever thought of yourself being a victim of human trafficking?
No, I've never really thought of it. I know I can be a victim of it, but I never really thought about it.
Have you ever thought about that you may become a victim of human trafficking? No?
Nah.
Yes? Why you say that?
I've gotten in the past before some people following me on a travel and usual stuff like that.
Have you ever responded to these persons?
I'm a guy.
Yeah, so
Guys,
I'm a big guy. I'm a big guy. I know big people like loving and saying, but I don't want to be cuddled by some random guy.
Okay, thank you guys. Have you ever thought about how they may be a victim or how they may be a victim of human trafficking, and can you give us some insight on what you think people can do
In terms of human trafficking, I live in my head, and I'm going to be honest with this question. So I would live in a space where I would say this would never happen to me. So to put plan B in place, it's really hard to ask me that question. So I don't have plan B, but plan A for me is, as I say, I be in their business. I be up. I just be there. I talk to them about the same thing, the human trafficking, as best knowledge as I have on it. I encourage them and employ them there too to research and come back to me with information that they will think that I don't even have. Me and my children have a real exceptional relationship. There's nothing they cannot tell me, and there's nothing that I don't tell them. Trust me, there's nothing that I don't tell them. I find a way to make them understand and to keep that net, because this is all I have. This is all I have. Yeah.
So, for human trafficking offense to take place, there has to be three elements, right? The act, the means, and the purpose. The act involves either recruitment, transporting of a person, harboring of a person, or receiving a person. So recruiting, you would see that where somebody would reach out to you online and say, well, I have a job for you to do. Or it could be a parent, telling their child, well, you need to do this because, we need money in the house. So that's recruiting. Transporting and transferring is just like the word says, is moving somebody from one place to the next. So it comes like when these Venezuelans come into our shores illegally, there's somebody there waiting for them at the beach to take them to the house. So that is the transporting part. And then harboring is where you keep the victims. So of course, these girls, you're not seeing them on the streets, they have to stay somewhere. So whoever is providing accommodation for them could be charged for human trafficking by harboring the persons, right? Now, it's only one element of the act has to be established. So you could either be a recruiter, transporter, harborer, or somebody who's receiving, right? So that's the first part, the act. The means now. So you're looking now at what mechanism the trafficker would have used to exploit the victim. And the means could be use of force, threat, violence, deception. Most times we are seeing is no longer like what you see on TV where somebody's kidnapped by force in a white panel van and taken. We are more seeing deception and fraud where persons are being fooled into thinking they're going to work as a domestic worker or something like that. So that is one of the main means we are seeing now. And the last element is exploitation. So in order for human trafficking, the person has to be exploited. So it could be either sexual exploitation, forced labor, domestic servitude, the removal of their organs, being used to transport illegal guns and weapons. That is another type of trafficking, exploitation, as well as child pornography. So those three elements has to be established for somebody to be charged with a human trafficking offense. So if I want to give you a specific example, if Jane reaches out to Mary and tells her, come to work in Trinidad, and you can make 500 US a day. And Mary comes, and then she finds herself being forced to provide sexual exploitation. To provide sexual services, Jane could be charged for human trafficking because she would have recruited Mary. She would have done it through fraud or deception, and then Mary would have been exploited. In the case of children, however, the law is more lenient towards the child. So the means element doesn't have to be proved. So once you prove that a child is recruited and exploited, that person can be charged for human trafficking. So you don't have to prove that the child was deceived or forced to do it or anything. So that middle element is not needed for children. Social media, for sure. They reach out via Facebook and WhatsApp. And that is because I think so many persons put so much of their life on social media that it's very easy to see who would be the vulnerable ones or who they could target. Because many times you'd see young persons complaining and saying they're lonely, they don't have any friends, or they're looking for a job, that kind of thing. And those are the persons that the traffickers tend to target. And believe it or not, we actually have some using the newspaper still, in the classifieds. You all have you all looked at classifieds recently? Just pull it up, the newspaper, and you would see spa, need sensual mosquito, and all sorts of different things. And we actually called one recently just to fill them out, and they were so open. They were like, yeah, well, have you any experience in this before? And the girl who called, she's like, yeah, I do have some experience. They said, you're over 18, right? She said, yes. They said, okay, well, here how it goes. You could pull as many clients as you want, but you just have to give us like $500 a day or whatever. But just note that you could come as much as you want. You could leave, you have freedom of movement. So it's quite clear too that they're trying to see how they could be the system, because they know one of the elements of human trafficking, one of the signs is lack of freedom of movement. So right away, they're telling you upfront, well, you could come and go as you want. So they're more or less trying to legitimize it by, yeah, you're doing wrong, you're doing illegal activity, but yet you're still paying me, but you can't really hold me for trafficking because I'm not really forcing you to do it. You see? So they're trying all sorts of ways to beat the system. Yeah, but it's out there on the newspaper. So that is why it's I always stress when I do these sessions with schools, when you're answering these ads, to always go with somebody, because if you go alone, chances are you might never see your family again, because they could kidnap you right there and force you to do things that you don't want to do. It's very risky. It's very, very risky. Right. So there is a difference between the migrant smuggling and human trafficking. Smuggling is done with their consent. So you would find, let's use Venezuela because that is the most common trend that we're seeing now. Venezuelans sometimes would pay persons to enter into our country illegally. So they are doing it with their own consent. Nobody's forcing them, so they would find the money. Sometimes they sell their homes and they pay the boatman or whoever is organizing the transportation for them to enter into the country illegally. So smuggling is with consent, whereas human trafficking is not with the person's consent. Nobody would consent to being exploited, right? So that's the first difference. The second difference is that smuggling is a crime against the state, because remember, all countries have laws and we have laws, we have legal ports of entry, but yet they are breaking our laws by entering without any documentation. Our immigration officers, customs officers, coast guard officers aren't aware of their presence. There's no record of them. So it's a crime against the state, whereas human trafficking is a crime against the person, because it's the victim that is suffering, the person that is being exploited. Another difference with smuggling is that it involves the crossing of borders. So you have to leave one country and enter into the next country, whereas human trafficking can happen within one country. So you could actually have a Trinidadian who lives in Port of Spain and she's trafficked in Sandy Grande. So those are the main differences between smuggling and human trafficking. Now, I think why some persons mix it up is because there are times when persons are smuggled into the country. So you have persons entering with their own free will, and then they later become victims of trafficking. That has happened. So you would see they paid to enter to probably work as a waitress or a helper, or sometimes even prostitution. Sometimes they tell us, well, no, we came to do prostitution. However, when they reach here, their passports or cedulars or identity cards are taken away, they are beaten, there's no freedom of movement. If they work, they're not being paid. So that is how a smuggled person could become a victim of trafficking.
Listen, I was with my, she has a, she has my best, not right now, no, of course. I remember my sister and my brother, after my mom disappeared, we fight too much. We live alone. So I remember then show me out to the house. So I went to my best friend, but right now, of course, we don't talk. She told me about the job in Trinidad. I said, right, I believe in she, I trust she because, my best friend. So I said, right, she organized everything. We then organized the car, the boat, everything to come here. I see many girls, but I think them coming to work normal. She tell me, you're gonna sell drinks, drums, these things, like normal job. But when I reach Trinidad, I see different. So I get crazy. I cry. Too much things happen. These things. No, I try. Listen, when my sister and my brother show me out, I try to look at a job, normal job in Venezuela, but I don't find. So she see me like I was sad, I was bad because I don't have place to go, and she talking to me about Trinidad. I always am my area, so I never hear about Trinidad. I was thinking then talk Spanish like Venezuela. So she talking to me about this thing. I tell she, right, let's go. She said, you can work like 3 months and you can coming back. That's close to Venezuela. I tell she, right, it's no problem. But right now I have 6 years in Trinidad. So